Sometimes I feel like we have a fascination with darkness as a culture. Just the idea of kind of exploring the darkness in our culture, our pop culture, like TV and movies, so that we don't have to explore the darkness in the real world. The truth of the matter is there's a lot of darkness in the real world, and it's ugly. But when you explore it in pop culture, you get to say, oh, that's just the fantasy world. That's not real. I think Grimm deals with a lot of those issues as well. And what's interesting is, it is based on the idea of fairy tales, which in themselves, when they were invented, that's what fairy tales were invented to do, was to explore the darkness of human nature and to go to those places in those fantasy worlds where real life didn't exist as a way to see kind of the darker elements and how we would respond to them. That's forgotten a lot. Fairy tales are seen as kind of a child's joyful kind of thing, but the original fairy tales were very dark, as is Grimm. I've talked a little bit about comparing it to Once Upon a Time, and that's really not fair. They are two different shows, but you will hear some of those comparisons in this. And I think the truth of the matter, just to kind of lay that to rest maybe, they're actually fairly equal shows in most ways. The plotting, the design of the show, although very different, are both very good in their own respect. I think the acting is maybe a little better in Once Upon a Time, my personal opinion. I think some of the actors in Grimm feel a little TV. Is that a bad thing to say? Because I know there are a lot of great actors on TV now, but they don't feel as solid or polished or well-rounded. It feels very cardboard in many ways. But the monsters are fun. The little clues and plot points are fun in the stories. I'm thinking specifically of the episode of Grimm with the three bears. Just a lot of great fun little puns and clues to, you know, the fact that this was the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but done in a modern way. I like that stuff, and I enjoy that stuff in Grimm, and so it's very similar to Once Upon a Time. What I will say about this show, as opposed to that show, is that Grimm is a show that explores those dark elements of those fairy tales and really kind of takes them back to what they were intended to be. And if you enjoy exploring the darkness in that way, if you enjoy taking a look into that fantasy realm because you'd rather be there and know it's not real than have to look around you to the darkness and know it is real, well, you'll like Grimm. It does that. It is definitely a show that goes there and will allow you to do that. Is it as good as Once Upon a Time? I think I give the slight edge to Once Upon a Time over Grimm. But is it a show worth watching? If you can handle the darkness, yeah.